Most men believe that if they don't chase a woman, she'll lose interest, but that's exactly the trap. The truth is, when you stop chasing, her mind starts working in ways you can't see. Curiosity sparks, respect grows, and attraction quietly begins to shift in your favor. Women notice value and confidence far more than effort. Chasing too hard often signals neediness or desperation, while holding your ground shows independence and self-assurance. When you step back, she starts seeing you differently. She starts mentally chasing you without even realizing it. In this video, we're going to break down what goes through a woman's mind when you don't chase. You'll see why space and restraint are far more powerful than constant effort. By the end, you'll understand how to flip the dynamic so she's drawn to you naturally. 1. Why she notices you. More when you don't chase. When you stop chasing, something interesting happens in a woman's mind. She starts paying attention in ways she wouldn't if you were constantly pursuing her. Your absence or restraint creates space for her to notice your value, your confidence, and your independence. Suddenly, the man she thought she understood becomes more intriguing because he's not available on demand. That subtle shift is often the spark that keeps her thinking about you. She begins to analyze your actions without realizing it. Every text you don't send, every call you don't make, every moment you stay calm instead of reacting is being noticed on a subconscious level. She starts to wonder what you're doing, why you're not chasing, and what kind of man you really are. Her curiosity is triggered because your behavior defies her expectations of what a man should do when he's interested. This isn't magic, it's psychology. Women are wired to notice confidence and independence, and when you stop chasing, you demonstrate both without saying a word. You're showing that your attention isn't cheap and that you're in control of your own life. That control makes her perceive you as higher value, and suddenly she's mentally leaning in while you remain calm and collected. The biggest mistake men make is thinking absence or restraint is disinterest. It's not. It's the exact opposite. By holding your ground, you allow her to step into the dynamic, to evaluate you, and to begin experiencing a subtle pull toward you. She starts filling in the blanks about who you are, why you don't chase, and what makes you different from every man who tries too hard. And that's where attraction quietly begins to grow. 2. The silent shift that makes her curious about you. When you stop chasing, she starts noticing details she would normally overlook. The way you carry yourself, your calm responses, the fact that you don't bend over backward for her attention, all of it begins to stand out. Her mind starts filling in the gaps, wondering why you aren't reacting like other men. That curiosity is powerful because it makes her mentally invest in figuring you out. She starts replaying moments and conversations in her head, analyzing what you said, how you acted, and why you didn't chase. Every subtle move you make now carries weight she didn't assign before. She begins comparing you to other men who try too hard, and suddenly your restraint feels rare and valuable. The more she notices it, the more she starts to question what makes you different. Curiosity drives her thoughts, and thoughts drive feelings. When she wonders why you're not chasing, she starts imagining scenarios, creating stories about your life, and picturing what it would be like if she did pursue you. That mental engagement is exactly what most men never see happening. While they assume their silence or restraint is making her lose interest, she's actually becoming more emotionally involved without even knowing it. The key here is consistency. You're not playing games or pretending to be disinterested, you're simply not overextending yourself. That steady energy communicates confidence and independence. She picks up on it instinctively, and once her curiosity is triggered, she begins to invest mentally and emotionally in a way that chasing could never achieve. Your quiet presence becomes far more magnetic than constant pursuit ever could. What makes this silent shift so powerful is that it is self-reinforcing over time. The longer a man maintains that calm, consistent, unforced energy, the more his restraint compounds in how she experiences and thinks about him. Each interaction where he shows up grounded and unbothered adds another layer to the impression she is building of him in her mind. Each moment where he does not chase when most men would have chased makes him feel more genuinely rare and more genuinely worth pursuing, and the mental and emotional investment she's been quietly building through her curiosity eventually reaches a tipping point where it becomes something she feels compelled to act on. Not because he engineered that outcome through careful strategy, but because his consistent and genuine way of showing up created it naturally over time without either of them fully realizing it was happening. 3. Why chasing kills. Her interest without you knowing. Most men think chasing shows commitment or interest, but in reality, it does the opposite. When you chase, you make yourself predictable and easy to read, and that predictability kills the mystery that attraction feeds on. She starts feeling less intrigued because there's nothing left to wonder about. You've given everything away too soon. Chasing also signals neediness without you even realizing it. Your attention becomes something she expects rather than values, and her mind starts placing you lower in the hierarchy of desire. Instead of feeling drawn in, she starts taking a step back, consciously or subconsciously, because the balance of power has shifted. The subtle danger is that most men never see it happening. They interpret her distance or caution as disinterest and respond by chasing harder. That only accelerates the effect, making her think he's too available, too eager, too easy, and that mental label sticks. Attraction isn't just about who you are, it's about how she experiences you in the moment. Ironically, the solution is simple. Stop chasing. By holding back, you give her room to step in, to notice your value, and to start mentally engaging with you. The dynamic flips when you stop reacting to her every move and start holding your ground. Suddenly, what seemed like disinterest on your part becomes the spark that makes her curious, attentive, and even a little drawn to you without you saying a word. Here is the deeper truth that makes this section complete. Chasing does not just kill her interest in the moment it is happening. It creates a lasting perception of a man that is very difficult to change even after the chasing stops. Once a woman has mentally categorized a man as someone who chases, someone whose attention is endlessly and unconditionally available, that categorization becomes the lens through which she interprets everything he does afterward. Even genuinely confident behavior gets filtered through that lens and read as more of the same pattern she already decided about him. This is why stopping the chase needs to happen early and needs to be accompanied by a genuine internal shift, rather than just a surface-level behavioral change. A man who stops chasing but is still internally anxious about her response will eventually find a way to communicate that anxiety, regardless of how carefully he manages his outward behavior. The shift has to be real to produce results that are real and lasting. 4. The secret power of holding your ground. Holding your ground is one of the most underrated tools in attraction. When you don't chase, you show that your life, your time, and your attention aren't disposable. That alone signals confidence, independence, and high value, all things she subconsciously notices and respects. It's a silent message that you're not desperate, and that makes you far more appealing. By maintaining your own pace, you force her to invest mentally and emotionally. She starts wondering why you aren't reacting like every other man, and that curiosity makes her think about you more. Attraction grows in the space between interactions, not in constant pursuit. When you stay steady, she begins to lean in naturally. Holding your ground also communicates self-respect without words. You're not proving yourself. You're not negotiating her attention, and you're not reacting to her every move. That calm control over your actions tells her she's interacting with a man who values himself first. And when she senses that, her respect and her desire grows quietly but powerfully. Most men fail to understand this because they confuse effort with value. They think chasing equals interest, when in reality, restraint equals attraction. By holding your ground, you create a dynamic where she has to step closer, think deeper, and engage more fully. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything about how she experiences you. What most men also fail to recognize is that holding your ground becomes significantly easier and significantly more natural when it is rooted in something genuine rather than in a deliberate decision to appear a certain way. A man who holds his ground because he has a life worth holding ground for, real goals he is pursuing, real standards he has developed, real self-respect that has been built through genuine personal growth, does not experience the restraint as difficult or as something that requires constant conscious effort to maintain. It simply becomes who he is. And that version of holding ground, the version that comes from genuine substance rather than strategic performance, is the version that women feel most powerfully and respond to most consistently. Build the substance first, and the ground you stand on becomes solid enough that nothing and nobody can move you from it without your genuine and fully considered permission. 5. How stepping back makes her think about you. When you step back, she starts noticing things she never paid attention to before. Imagine you've been texting her less, focusing on your own life and not responding instantly every time she reaches out. Suddenly, she realizes she misses your energy, your humor, and the way you make her feel. That space makes her start thinking about you in ways chasing could never create. Without constant attention, she begins filling in the blanks herself. She remembers conversations, laughs at little things you said, and wonders why you're not always around. That mental engagement sparks curiosity and even a subtle pull toward you. You've created a space where her mind has to actively consider your value rather than taking it for granted. She also begins to measure her own feelings. The less you chase, the more she reflects on how she feels about you. Is she enjoying the connection? Does she actually want to reach out? That internal evaluation builds attraction because she's now emotionally investing in thoughts about you, which is exactly what most men never see happening. Stepping back doesn't mean ignoring her or being cold. It's about giving her room to process, notice, and engage with you without pressure. By focusing on your own life and showing calm independence, you naturally make her wonder, anticipate, and even desire your attention. That subtle pull is far more powerful than any chase could ever achieve. What makes stepping back so consistently effective is that it works on a timeline that most men are not patient enough to allow to fully develop. The mental and emotional processing that a woman goes through during the space a man creates does not always produce visible results immediately. Sometimes it takes days, sometimes it takes longer. And the men who step back, but then rush back in the moment they sense any shift in her engagement, undo all the work that the stepping back was quietly doing beneath the surface. Real patience, the kind that comes from a man who is genuinely focused on his own life rather than monitoring her response, is what allows the process to complete itself fully. Stay in your own life long enough and consistently enough for the space to do its complete work. The results, when they arrive, will reflect exactly how much patience and genuine self-investment went into creating them. 6. Why men who don't chase always seem more attractive. Men who don't chase naturally command attention because they're not trying to earn it. Their confidence shows in small ways: calm conversations, measured responses, and the ability to stay focused on their own life. Women notice this immediately, even if they can't explain why. That quiet self-assurance makes them seem more attractive without any extra effort. Not chasing also creates a sense of scarcity, but in a good way. When you're not constantly available, she starts to value the moments she does have with you more. Your presence becomes meaningful because it isn't guaranteed, and that scarcity makes her think, I need to pay attention to him before he disappears again. The men who hold back also show emotional stability. They're not reacting to every text, every mood, or every social cue. That calmness communicates strength, independence, and high value. Women are drawn to that because it creates a sense of security while still keeping the excitement alive. They know you're steady, but not predictable. Not chasing allows attraction to grow naturally. When a man invests wisely, shows interest without overdoing it, and maintains his own boundaries, he lets her lean in. She starts to actively engage, think about him, and even compete for his attention on a subconscious level. That dynamic is far more magnetic than chasing could ever be. What also makes men who do not chase consistently more attractive is the way their restraint affects how a woman values her own investment in the connection. When a man is endlessly available and endlessly accommodating, a woman never has to bring anything genuine to the dynamic because everything she could want from it is already being offered freely and without condition. But when a man maintains his own standards and his own pace, she has to actually show up, actually invest, and actually contribute something real to keep the connection alive and moving forward. And the connections that require genuine investment from both sides are always the connections that feel most valuable, most meaningful, and most worth protecting. The man who creates that dynamic without chasing does not just become more attractive, he becomes genuinely irreplaceable in a way that no amount of pursuit could ever manufacture. The men who do not chase also benefit from something that most people never consciously identify, but everyone instinctively feels. They are simply more interesting to be around. A man who is fully invested in his own life, who has genuine stories to tell and genuine things happening in his world, who brings real energy and real substance to every interaction, rather than simply being a vessel for her attention to pour into, that man creates conversations and connections that feel genuinely alive rather than merely comfortable. And connections that feel genuinely alive are the ones that keep a woman coming back, keep her thinking about him in the quiet moments, and keep her genuinely invested in what happens next between them. Be that man not as a strategy, but as a genuine expression of a life worth living, and watch how naturally and consistently everything else follows from that single foundational decision. 7. The mindset that makes her want you without pressure. The mindset you carry changes everything about how women respond to you. When you value yourself, hold your boundaries, and stay confident in your worth, it shows in every action. You don't have to prove anything, over-explain yourself, or chase for validation. That calm self-assurance makes you magnetic without even trying. Many men fail here because they let fear drive their actions. They worry she'll lose interest, so they overcompensate with attention and effort. That neediness kills attraction faster than anything else. The truth is, when you step back and focus on yourself, she begins to notice your independence and respect your space. That mental shift is far more powerful than any chase could ever create. It's also about letting her meet you halfway. You can show interest without losing control or lowering your standards. When you allow her to engage willingly, she begins investing emotionally on her own terms. That balance makes the connection feel natural, exciting, and sustainable, rather than forced or one-sided. Take a hard look at your own habits. Are you reacting out of fear, impatience, or ego? Or are you operating from confidence and clarity? Most men need a wake-up call here. Attraction isn't about effort, it's about presence. When you adopt the right mindset, women respond differently. Curiosity builds, and desire grows without you having to chase at all. Here is the honest and direct criticism that most men need to hear before they can genuinely adopt this mindset and make it stick. Reading about this mindset and intellectually agreeing with it is not the same as living it. Most men will finish this video feeling motivated and clear about what needs to change, and then return to the exact same patterns within days, because the underlying belief system that drives those patterns has not actually been addressed or genuinely challenged. The fear of losing her interest, the anxiety about where things stand, the quiet belief that consistent effort is the only thing standing between keeping her and losing her. None of those things disappear simply because a man now understands that they are counterproductive. They disappear through the patient, consistent daily work of building genuine self-worth from the inside out until the external validation simply stops feeling necessary. The final message that every man needs to carry from this section and from this entire video is this. The mindset that makes a woman want a man without pressure is not something that can be borrowed or performed temporarily until results appear. It has to be built genuinely and lived consistently as a permanent expression of who a man has decided to become. Every day that a man chooses his own growth over his anxiety about her response, every day that he invests in his own life rather than monitoring hers, every day that he holds his standards and his boundaries and his sense of direction, regardless of external pressure, all of that builds the mindset one genuine decision at a time. And the man who emerges from that daily building process does not need to think about attraction or pursuit or any of the dynamics covered in this video. He simply lives his life fully and completely, and the attraction takes care of itself in ways that no amount of chasing ever could have produced. Here's the harsh truth most men don't want to hear. Chasing women rarely makes them want you more. It almost always does the opposite. When you overextend yourself, you signal neediness, lower your perceived value, and remove the very tension that creates attraction. The moment you stop chasing, you flip the dynamic, and suddenly she starts noticing you in ways that constant pursuit could never trigger. That subtle shift is where real attraction begins. Understanding this isn't just about strategy, it's about mindset. When you hold your ground, value your own time, and remain confident without overcompensating, you allow her to engage on her own. She begins thinking about you, wondering why you're different from every other man, and mentally chasing you without realizing it. That mental investment is far more powerful than any text, call, or grand gesture could ever be. I want you to reflect on your own habits and see where you might be chasing out of fear, impatience, or ego. Step back, focus on your own life, and watch how the dynamic changes. If you've experienced this shift, share your story in the comments. I'll be reading and engaging with you. Let's talk about what really works when you stop chasing and let attraction do the work naturally.